So if you have specific questions, can answer those. So it looks like folks are still answering the poll. And I thank you for being here. It looks like I'm just going to go ahead and close it out. A lot of folks here are appear to be first year students joining us, so we're really excited to have you, as well as those who are perhaps going to be transfers, still deciding, and families. So thank you all. This session is intended for incoming students, whether you've committed to UMBC or you're still waiting. We really want to talk about the process of applying for and living on campus. So if you have not already attended our Admitted Students Day or any of our other opportunities, we welcome you today. So a little bit about living on campus. At UMBC, on-campus housing is not required. So a lot of other institutions you may find that students are required to live on campus their first year or their second year. At UMBC, the option to live on campus is just that. It is an option. But more than 60% of our newly admitted first year students will choose to live on campus during their first year. So there are a large number of first year students who will live on campus and elect to do so and elect to return. We house both graduate and undergraduate students at UMBC. We have about 4,000 beds and about 1,400 first year students lived with us this past year. So there are lots of reasons why people might choose to live on campus. It may be convenience. It may be just looking for that typical university or college experience, getting to know people, being close to the action, so to speak. We know that living on campus provides a lot of community. It provides a lot of convenience and support for the students who choose to live on campus. Highlighted here are just some of the things that students in our national survey have said that they really value or appreciate about living on UMBC's campus. So namely, safety and security. Students feel safe in their halls. They feel welcomed on our campus. There's a strong sense of community. You have built-in community because you're living with your peers. If you participate in one of our living learning communities, you're living among your classmates. UMBC itself is an extremely diverse campus. We have students from all over the world, all over the state, all over the country, with different backgrounds and experiences. And our housing is just a microcosm of that. It is your opportunity to really experience folks who may be different from yourself and to learn and grow in that way. And then folks really enjoy our residential life student staff. So all of our students who work for us, whether they live in hall and are serving as a resident assistant or working as a desk assistant or office assistant in community, folks have really good positive interactions with our student staff. There's also a lot of opportunities. So when you live on campus, you are here 24/7, which opens up the possibility for you to go to events that are happening late in the evening, on the weekends, early in the morning, in between your class breaks. But there's also a lot of opportunity for engagement in the halls. So we have intentional learning. We hope that when you come to campus, you learn more about yourself. Maybe you learn a new skill, whether that's learning how to do your laundry for the first time. Maybe it's learning how to clean your own toilet, like some basic life skills. But there's some intentional learning that happens in our halls. All of our resident assistants do what we refer to as retriever chats. So those are check-ins with all of the students on their floor. It's about building community, building connections. And so know that if you're living in community, you're going to have a resident assistant who's going to be there to get to know you and provide you support. We also have faculty mentors. So these are folks on the academic side of the house that spend time in our residential communities. They hold office hours, they host programs, And students have the ability to connect with them, one, on kind of the personal level, and two, to ask those questions about advising and things that are coming up. Maybe they're thinking about changing their major, and the faculty mentor in their community happens to be in the major that they're considering or thinking about leaving. And so those are really great connections. We also offer a program called Student-Led Initiatives. So if you are a residential student and you want to essentially apply for a grant to do something in the halls, whether that's a program or advocate for change, we are here to support that initiative. And so there's opportunity for students either through a community council, which is one of our student leadership positions, or through the Student-Led Initiatives program to provide voice to what you want your experience to be as a residential student. And then there are lots of ways to get involved with our department. So we have our Resident Student Association, which functions a lot like student government, but for residential students. We have community council, so every community has its own council that is focused on events, activities, things that are happening in that building or that they want to advocate for in that community. We also have an honors society. And I want to highlight that Residential Life is one of the largest on-campus employers. We have over 250 student employees serving in a variety of roles. And so if you're looking for opportunities for on-campus employment once you get here, or thinking about being an RA in your sophomore year, we are always looking for student leaders who want to be engaged. So there's a lot of opportunity by choosing to live on campus. So the question we get most often is, where do students live? And this is unique to whatever type of student you may be, but most first-year students will live in our residence halls. As for our incoming transfer students, depending on how many credits you have and what you've indicated your preferences are on your housing application, you may be eligible for a residence hall, a suite, or an apartment style community. But all of our first year students, if you are a first time entering freshman, you can expect to live in a traditional residence hall. We do have some living learning communities that are housed in our suites. So if you apply to and are offered an opportunity to live in that LLC, you may live in a suite, and we'll talk about living learning communities a little bit later. But for the vast majority of our students, your experience is going to start out in a traditional hall. All of our traditional halls and our suite style rooms come with semi-private bathrooms. So you're sharing a bathroom with other students who live in your unit. There's not really that experience of carrying your shower caddy, putting on your flip-flops and walking down the hall to like a communal bathroom. All of our buildings have air conditioning, so you're going to have individually operated temperature controlled rooms, whether you live in a suite, a traditional hall, or an apartment. All of the bedrooms are furnished. You'll have a bed, which is an extra long twin, mattress, wardrobe, or a closet, depending on the nature of the building, drawers to store your stuff, and a desk chair. And then all of our buildings, as you'd expect in the 21st century, have internet and streaming services. So we use Comcast Xfinity. Students have the ability to use their UMBC login to access that streaming service provider. Outside of the bedroom, in our communities, what you'll find are community desks that operate 24/7. That is typically the first place you will see when you enter a building. It is staffed by our students. That's where you're going to go to get mail and packages, to check out resources or things for the game room and the lounge. It's also where you go to sign in guests. So if we have any family members on the call and you're looking to visit your student on campus, your student's going to meet you at the desk and sign you in so that you can visit their room, hang out with them, spend time with them. All of our communities have study lounges. Most of the study lounges are found on the floor. So you'll find a smaller study lounge or community lounge on your floor. And then we have larger community rooms, usually on the lower level of all of our halls. And that's where you'll find a community kitchen, as well as, potentially a pool table, ping pong table, large screen TV, lots of tables and chairs, whiteboards where you can study with groups and things like that. Laundry is included in the cost of housing, so all of our facilities have laundry rooms. Students don't have to use coins or their UMBC ID to pay to use the laundry. We also have vending and ice machines in all communities, and I've mentioned we have resident assistants who live in community, live on the floors. They're there as a resource. They help program, and they also help to ensure the safety and security of our buildings by facilitating rounds nightly to make sure everything is okay. As far as the actual layout of our traditional rooms, I have some images here. I liken it to the Brady Bunch. They are Jack and Jill style units. So it is a 2-bedroom unit. 2 students live in each bedroom. So that makes a total of 4 students sharing the bathroom that's in the center. Our suites are similar. The difference is that they typically have a living room in addition to the 2 double bedrooms. And then our apartments, if we have any transfers coming in with higher credit levels, those are 4 bedrooms. They're all single bedrooms with a kitchen and a living room. So we have on our website 360 tours. They are really great. You can kind of navigate around the room. We highlight some items, including calling out like what size things are, how much storage you might have under the bed. There's also a really cool ruler tool where you can like measure the room if you want a sense of what that space might feel like in terms of size and scope. So we recommend checking out those 360 tours. If you're looking for an in-person tour, those are not facilitated through our office. Undergraduate admissions does a black and gold tour, usually daily, and they will show one of our traditional style rooms, so a traditional residence hall room. If you're interested in that, you'll want to contact undergraduate admissions. So I talked a little bit about the styles of community, so halls, suites, and apartments. Within each of those styles, we have various housing options. So in all of our communities, in our res halls and in our suites, we offer living learning communities. Living learning communities are no different in terms of what the rooms look like from a traditional experience. You're still going to have an RA, you're still going to have that same room set up, but the floor itself is designated as a community of scholars living together. About 30% of our first year students will live in a living learning community. We have 9 of them ranging in interest in academic program, and they are called living learning communities because they have an academic component tied to them. So if you apply for a living learning community and you are offered a space on that living learning community, the coordinator of the LLC will reach out to you to also let you know what course or section of a course you need to enroll in. Our LLCs range in size. They also range in kind of prerequisite. So what I will say is I encourage you to review our website to check out our living learning community so you know if you would be potentially eligible for one. An example of this would be our Honors College LLC. In order to be eligible for the Honors College LLC, you need to be an Honors College admittee or scholar. And so we just want students to make sure they're taking a look at the living learning communities and are aware of all of the different options, as well as the coordinators who are the ones who are selecting the members of that community. I also want to highlight if we have any scholars on this call that know they're a CWIT scholar or know that they're a humanities scholar. If you want to live on the LLC, you still need to fill out the housing application and indicate that on your housing application. It may be that you've been admitted to that program and it says you have priority for the living learning community, but you still have to fill out the housing application and express interest. So outside of our living learning communities, we offer 8 and 9 month style housing. So for students who do not require break housing, you could likely select one of our traditional 8-month style rooms. That means that during fall, winter, and spring break, you are expected to leave. Your items can remain in room because when you sign up for housing, you're committing for the full year. So that assignment is your assignment all year. But if you are a student who knows that it's going to be difficult to travel, perhaps you're international, out of state, and some of those smaller break periods make it hard for you to get flights or get out, I recommend applying for or indicating need for 9-month housing. Those buildings remain open and staffed, so it allows you the opportunity to stay here during the break periods. The next two options that are on the application for you to express interest or need in are same gender floors and gender inclusive floors. So I will start by saying all of our communities are co-ed. Most of our floors are co-ed. We have a few designated floors in our traditional halls that are same gender. So if you are a student looking to live on a floor with all students of the same gender, you would indicate that on your housing application. Alternatively, we have students who want gender inclusive housing. Gender inclusive housing is not a particular place on campus. It is a particular space or apartment or suite. So essentially, all of our buildings are co-ed. Most of our floors are co-ed with the exception of those same gender floors. Each unit is same sex. And so students sharing a bathroom essentially share the same identity. If you are expressing need or interest in gender inclusive housing, what you're saying is, I want my unit, the people I'm living closely with, to also be interested in gender inclusive housing. And so if you apply for gender inclusive housing, you would be assigned with or have the ability to choose roommates who have also expressed interest in gender inclusive housing, and your unit, the space where you're living, is deemed gender inclusive for the year. We also offer quiet lifestyle housing. So in all of our communities, there's at least one floor or wing that has extended quiet hours. So all of our communities have quiet hours. Typically, those begin somewhere between 10 p.m. and midnight, depending on the day of the week, and end around 7 or 8 a.m. Quiet lifestyle communities have extended quiet hours. So they start earlier, they stay later. If you're interested in quiet lifestyle, you can also indicate that on your housing application. And the other thing I want to mention is if you are seeking accommodations for housing, depending on the nature of your accommodation, if it is medical, you're going to want to start working with Student Disability Services now. If it has to do with a religious accommodation, you're going to want to start with the Office for Equity and Civil Rights. Those offices are the offices that will work with you to facilitate a formal accommodation, and they will notify our office once your accommodation has been formalized. We also encourage you and ask that you indicate on your housing application if you are anticipating requesting an accommodation through one of those offices, so that we know on the front end as we're going through the assignment process, so we can follow up with you, so we can make sure those offices are working with you, and to ensure that we are able to meet your needs as we're assigning you for the upcoming year. So before you apply, this is probably a big one for parents, but also for students who are cost conscious. We want you to be mindful of the cost of living on campus and the commitments. So one of the things that you should note is if you are applying to live on campus, if you are a resident in a hall or a suite, and as I said, all first year students will live in the halls or suites. Transfer students may have the opportunity to be in an apartment, but if you're in a hall or a suite, you are required to have a meal plan. There are 5 residential meal plans to choose from. There are over 16 places on campus to dine, and they're kind of spread out. True Grits is our all-you-care-to-eat dining facility, which is centrally located in between all of our residence halls. And True Grits offers 3 or 4 meal periods a day. So they have breakfast, lunch, dinner, and late night. And on the weekends, they do brunch, dinner, and late night. And so students can use their meal plans at any of the retail locations that are in our Commons, our UC, the admin building, or True Grits. Dine on Campus is both the app and the website for our dining provider. They list their hours, their menus, if they have any special events. I will also mention that they have a registered dietitian. His name is Adam. He meets with students who have questions about navigating on-campus dining, specifically if they have allergies, that they want to know where they can go, what's going to make the most sense for them, but also students who have specialized diets, preferential diets, looking to change their diet, modify their diet. That is a free service to residential students, is a free service to all UMBC students, but Adam will prioritize working with students who have questions or concerns as it relates to dining on campus and being a residential student who's required to have a meal plan. I've included their website. You can also find a link to their website from our website. So if you're thinking about living on campus, again, on-campus housing is for the full academic year, both the fall and the spring semester. So students and families should plan to budget for an annual cost, but know that you are billed semesterly. So you'll have a fall bill and you'll have a spring bill. What I've included here as an example is what that cost would be for the academic year. So if a student is living in a traditional hall, a double bedroom, they can expect that annually. Next year, the cost is going to be $87.57. And if they choose the terrific 12 meal plan, which is our lowest price point residential meal plan, you can see that this is the anticipated room and board costs. Two things I want to highlight with these estimates. One, these are the proposed rates. USM, the University System of Maryland, will give us our approved rates in May or June, and we'll be able to share what those are. But generally, what we publish as our proposed rates end up being our actual rates. And the other thing I will say is this number is not like the set number. If you choose a different meal plan or you have a different style of housing, you're living in a 9-month suite style room or an apartment, there is going to be variability. So I use this as a guidepost, but it's something for you to think about. Other things to consider is, as part of your housing application, you are required to pay a $200 reservation fee. That reservation fee gets applied as a credit towards your fall housing bill. So it's not like you're paying $200 and then you're paying your room and board. The $200 will come off as a credit, but it is separate from your enrollment deposit. It's also separate from your orientation deposit. This is specifically to secure your on-campus housing. You get that money back. And then you have your room cost, your meal plan cost, and then I just highlight that some students may apply and contract for housing and ultimately decide to cancel. And there are cancellation fees associated with signing the license and then deciding not to attend or not come to fulfill the terms of the license. Those are stepped cancellation fee schedule. So the earlier we get your cancellation, the less expensive it is. The later you wait to cancel prior to the start of the fall semester, the more expensive it is. So please be mindful that there is a commitment when you're applying to housing by our guarantee deadline. If you license and choose not to attend UMBC or choose not to live on campus, there is a cancellation fee. I have a link here on our website under our community section is a full list of the proposed room and meal plan rates for next year. So the next piece I want to just highlight is the application process. And so the application for housing is separate from your admissions application. It is through our housing portal. The link is here. It's umbc.edu/gohousing. You can also find a link to the portal on our website. The application, in order to guarantee on-campus housing, must be finalized by May 1st. In order to get into the housing portal, though, there's a prerequisite, and that is you need to have accepted your UMBC admittance, so paid your enrollment deposit, and upgraded your UMBC account. If you're waiting until May 1 to accept your enrollment to UMBC, you're not going to be able to go in and fill out the housing application by May 1 to also guarantee your on-campus housing. So I say that for you and your families to plan, if you want to live on campus and you know that UMBC is the place you're going, make sure you accept that enrollment, make sure you update your account so that you can get into the housing portal and do the housing pieces by the end of the day on May 1st. Applications are finalized when you've filled out the application, you've signed the housing license or contract through the housing portal, and you've submitted your $200 reservation fee. Once we have all three of those pieces, then your application is deemed finalized and you are guaranteed on-campus housing for the next year. The other thing I want to highlight is if you're interested in applying to one or multiple living learning communities, you have to do that by May 1st. It is part of the housing application. Students will find out no later than May 28th if they've been offered a spot on a living learning community. So make sure if you are interested in an LLC, you apply by that May 1 deadline and you fill out the LLC interest application page, and I'll share what that looks like. And then I just want to share, sometimes for whatever the reasons may be, students are unable to finalize their application by May 1st. If you submit your application after May 1st, all you're submitting is the application. You're not signing a contract, you're not paying a reservation fee. Your application then puts you on our housing wait list. That allows our team to reach out to you as space becomes available to make an offer for the upcoming year. I will share that our waitlist offers are prioritized based on a number of factors, including time of submission of your application, as well as how far away your permanent address is from UMBC. So if we have two students who submitted applications on relatively the same day, but we have one student who's from California and we have one student who's from Catonsville, we are going to prioritize offering that placement or that space to the student who is in California. Those housing offers are sent to your UMBC email. In fact, most everything we send is to your UMBC email. So all updates, all announcements are going to be there. Waitlist offers typically go out at the beginning of the week. Students have about a week to accept or decline before we move on to the next person on the wait list. And so it's really helpful or really important that if you're a parent of a student on this call, or if you're a student, you're checking your UMBC email regularly over the summer if you found yourself on our wait list. So I figured I would step away from the slides and take you guys to the housing portal just so you can see what you'd be looking for or looking at in terms of the application. The housing portal has a student login at the top. You are going to select that. There will be an option for you to type in a username and password. Don't do that. There's a button that says UMBC SSO, which represents single sign-on. Use that. It will come in here, and so all the information related to your account will already be generated. The housing applications are found under the on-campus housing applications tab. You are looking, if you are applying for the academic year, the 2025-2026 academic year application, you can see that my application is not finalized, so I am not guaranteed anything. When you click apply, it should show you at the top the different steps of the application. The first step is basically asking for general information about yourself. The second step is going to talk about the academic year housing process and that May 1 guarantee deadline for all of our newly admitted first year and transfer students. The next step of the application is going to ask you about those housing options and community preferences or room preferences. So if you have the opportunity before jumping into the application to look at our website to understand what each and every one of those means, that is preferred, but we do have brief descriptions here. So if I'm interested in quiet lifestyle, I can let folks know. If I'm not, that's fine. If I would like 9-month housing, I can indicate that. If I'd like single gender floor, I can indicate that as well and provide my reason. And if I want gender inclusive housing. The other option is, this is where you will say, yes, I'm interested in an LLC, or no, I'm not. If you say no to this question, you're not going to see the LLC application. So make sure if you want to apply for and preference your LLCs that you select yes. And then we ask you to rank your bedroom style preferences. As I've mentioned, we have 8 and 9-month style rooms. We have single bedrooms, double bedrooms, triple bedrooms, and quad bedrooms. Most students live in a double bedroom. Singles for our incoming first year students are typically reserved for those who have medical accommodations through student disability services. So it's very unlikely that as a first year student, you would have a single room. But we also offer triple and quad bedrooms. They come at a lower price point, and that is 3 people sharing a bedroom, not 3 people sharing a bathroom. You still have potentially an adjoining room that has 1 or 2 other people in it. And then the quad is exactly that. It's 4 people to a bedroom. So you're going to preference as many as you would like, but you have to at least preference 3 is what we ask. And then the next section asks about accommodations, if you require any, if you have any allergies that you'd like to share with us. Some of our students have accommodations to have emotional support or service animals. Those are 2 separate categories in the halls. So if you are interested in being housed with or living with someone who is approved to have an emotional support animal, you can do that. And you can add any additional information that you'd like about yourself. Once you fill out that page, which is basically the application, you will be brought to subsequent pages based on what you said. So I said I'm interested in gender inclusive housing. There is an acknowledgement that you would have to complete to verify, and we ask you to share why you are interested or need gender inclusive housing. Our staff do review those. So if you say I'm interested in gender inclusive housing, and then you fill out the acknowledgement, but your reason is like, I like everybody. Like that is really not what gender inclusive housing is about or intended for. So we ask that those who are approved for gender inclusive housing are vetted and truly express need or preference to be in that style of community. The next section is your roommate matching questionnaire. This is what's used for our staff to assign you roommates should you not request roommates. And we'll talk about the deadline for requesting roommates later. And then the LLC application is also here. So you have the ability to rank and preference as many LLCs as you'd like. If you're only interested in one LLC, you only have to choose one. If you're like, I would be interested in all 9 of them, and I know I'm eligible for all 9, you can do that too. Whoever you indicate as your first preference, so your top preference, the LLC coordinators are already starting to review and vet those requests. And then if your LLC coordinator is not accepting you as your top preference, any subsequent preferences that you've indicated, those LLC coordinators would then review your application. There are 3 questions that you would have to fill out. We ask that you answer them completely, not like myself, who is just trying to work through, so that you have the ability. Currently, the housing license is open to all students. Again, this is a contract. It's for the full academic year. If you are under the age of 18, you will be asked to provide your parent or guardian's name and email address. They will get an email from UMBC DocuSign to also sign this agreement. As a student who's under the age of 18, until your parent or guardian also signs it, you will not be able to move forward in the process of securing your housing. So if you've accidentally entered your parent or guardian's email address incorrectly and you need to correct that, please reach out to our office so that we can support you with that. The housing contract is here. There are some acknowledgments that we ask folks pay attention to that you will have to agree to. Recognizing that there are cancellation fees if you choose to cancel, that there is a process by which you would have to petition for release if you already take occupancy and you're trying to leave mid-year. So it's very important that you review this. I've already signed it. And then the next step for students after they've completed the contract is to pay that reservation fee. I cannot stress how important it is to only click continue to payment portal if you are absolutely ready to make that payment. So you have your credit card in hand, or you have your ACH information, your banking information, so that you can make that payment. If you go out to the portal, the payment portal, and try to come back and haven't made payment, it's gonna just cycle you around, and we'll have to reset your application. So all the hard work you had just done to answer all those questions, you're gonna have to redo. So it's really important that if you get to this stage, you can leave and come back, but only proceed if you're ready to make that reservation fee payment. Once you do that, you'll get to the end of the process where it'll ask you to pick your meal plan. We talked a little bit about the meal plan. Know that when you're picking your meal plan as part of the housing application process, that is merely to ensure that you have at least something showing up on your fall bill so that you and your family can budget for what your expenses are going to be. Students actually have until the second week of the semester to change their meal plan. So if you get here and you realize the meal plan you picked is not working for you, you have until drop add to make that change. And you can also change your meal plan semester to semester. All meal plan questions, changes, requests after you've done it through the housing application will actually go through Retriever Card Services. They manage meal plans and campus cards. So this is the basic application. Students will come back to this when it's time to choose roommates if they want to pick roommates. We are going to pilot the ability for some students to be able to actually pick their room this summer, and we'll have some more information sessions about that. Or if you were a student who didn't get to the license and the payment process and you got stopped at the waitlist process, when you get your offer, you'll come back to the same application to work through it and accept your offer. So that is the housing portal. Some important dates and resources. May 1, priority deadline. May 1, deadline if you're applying for an LLC. May 28th is when you'll find out if you've been admitted to an LLC or offered a spot in one of our LLCs. Students will then have the ability from May 28th until May 15th to request roommates. So they'll use the portal if they know someone. They'll be able to request them and add them to their group. If they want to search for profiles and try to reach out to students to form roommate groups, they can do that as well. And if they have no interest in forming a roommate group, that is totally fine. You will be assigned by the lovely folks in our office based on your housing application and your roommate matching profile. I will highlight that if you are admitted or offered space in an LLC, you can only form roommate groups with other students who have also been admitted to that LLC. So your options for finding students is going to be a little bit smaller because you have to be part of the LLC to live on that floor. So more information to come about roommate formation. We will start to send some of these things out in scalable or manageable pieces so students and families know exactly what they should be doing at different stages. By July 15th, you will receive your room information as well as your roommates information. Throughout the month of August, we are communicating about new student move-in, which occurs on August 23rd. That is a Saturday. You will get more information, including your specific move-in time. New student move-in is the kickoff of Retriever Welcome or Welcome Week activities. Classes actually don't begin until Wednesday, so there's opportunity for students to really get familiar with campus, get familiar with their roommates before jumping into the academic components. We have links to our some resources all found on our website. So our website is reslife.umbc.edu. The apply section, you would be looking for new undergraduate student information. Since you found this session, you've probably already been to our website. We do have a packing list. It has some links to some of the vendors that we recommend using. It outlines what we provide, as well as what's provided in some of our apartment and suite common areas, as well as recommendations on what to bring and recommendations on what to keep at home. So we encourage families to start looking at this if you already know you're living on campus. Some of the larger items, we often say wait until you found out who your roommate is to start coordinating who's bringing what, who's renting what. Those things don't have to happen right now. They can happen later in the summer. But all of the information that you might be seeking is here. That Explorer Communities is where you'll learn a little bit more about the types of housing, our 9 living learning community options, those specialized housing options, so quiet lifestyle, gender inclusive, same gender, and a link to our housing and meal plan rates. So I know that that was a lot of information. I will share a link to this presentation in the chat once I get out of here. But I want to, I'm going to stop sharing. I'm going to stop recording.